Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. I'm back in the laboratory today and I want to share some results with you and give you some updates of how some of the plants are growing in flasks. But the first thing I want to talk about is the deflasking directly onto cedar. And it's only been a week and it doesn't look like it's going to work well at all for freshly deflasked orchids. So I tried a few different things. So I tried freshly deflasked orchids, and I tried putting rock wool over the roots and sphagnum moss on the roots, and then putting them on cedar boards. And then I had some plants that I had deflasked a couple of months ago, and those had established already, and I tried mounting those on cedar boards. So freshly out of flask, but not as fresh as directly out of flask. So the results, what I want to show you first are the results from deflasking Encyclia tampensis directly onto cedar boards. And here are the plants, and they look bad. They don't look very good at all. This is, if nothing is happening, if the plants are just kind of growing, you're going to get, they're still going to look okay. But what's happened with these things, if you can take a look at them, what's happened with these things is they're actively not doing well. They're actually, the tissue is really senescing and it's being killed. Now what may happen is that there may be some new shoots that'll grow out of this. But these plants were too old and they were in the containers. But this was active killing of this tissue. When you open the container, the first thing that you do is you can smell the cedar. So the cedar is putting out certain kind of aerosols and gases and things like that. And I think that when you do this outside, it's fine. But in a container like this with freshly deflasked plants that are sensitive, it may not work. I'm going to leave these in here and we'll see how they go. And some of them don't look too bad, but even the ones that don't look too bad don't look great. Again, what's going on is you've got a lot of this leaf tissue that was within a week, it's dead and it looks bad, and that's just not good. So now the roots on these things, on some of these plants, you can't really see them that well. They didn't have very good roots, but the roots on them don't look that bad. It's just these leaves that are really sensitive that look bad. The other thing that I noticed today, and again, it's only been a week, with all of the plants that were mounted on these boards, is that the cedar got really dry, and the boards, the containers, even though I put water in them, they dried out a little bit more than I was expecting. So I think what's happening is the cedar is absorbing the water, and you got all the surface area for the water to evaporate. So I think these things get dry really quickly. That doesn't explain why you have this awful killing of this tissue. I think it's the cedar, and I think that's actually undesirable in these containers. Again, it's not a total loss, and we'll see what happens with these guys, and we'll keep them in here because that's how we do science and that's how we do experiments. These leaves are not going to recover, but we may get some new growth that come out of some of these pseudobulbs. The other thing is that because the cedar dries out the water in the container so quickly, I think that we need to add a lot of water to the container every week until things kind of stabilize. So there's a few things that we learned from this. Freshly deflasked plants might not be very good, but also the water level needs to be higher initially. The thing is, when you add water to the container, it's a good idea not to have orchid roots sitting in water, but the boards are going to be sitting in the water, so they essentially wick up the water. So the roots should grow and attach to the board because this is the moist thing that the orchids have access to. Okay, so those were the freshly deflasked plants that were put directly on the cedar boards. The other thing that I'm going to show you, these are plants that were established first and then put in the cedar boards. And this is Encyclia tampensis, and this is an Oprah Winfrey cross. And you can tell this is more what I was expecting. These are going to do well. These still look pretty good. So again, the freshly deflasked stuff, no, but things that had already been deflasked and established for a little while, those seem to be doing well. And again, with these boards, I don't know if you can tell, but the top of these boards, I added water to the container. So the cedar is starting to absorb the water. You can see how the top of the board is still dry, but I added so much water so that the boards will wick up all of the water, and I think this will work out well. So I think there needs to be kind of an intermediate stage for these to work. And I'm looking at, might even need to add some more water to the containers. So these containers have water in them, they're wicking up, but it doesn't take much to suck all of the water out of the containers into the boards. And again, because of the big surface area here, you have these boards are drying out very, very quickly. Okay, so we did learn some things from this. We're okay. It didn't work as nice as the burlap fowls did, but this is why you do these experiments, just to see how they go. All right, so yay, we're learning something. I want to show you also some of my flasks that are over here. And the reason I want to show them to you is because I'm pretty excited about how these flasks look. And each one has a little bit of a story to it, and I want to share those stories and move along. So this first flask is a Cattleya pumila. And this is from a really, really old seed capsule and actually an old seed plate that is, I think, the plate was like 3 years old, and I transferred some of the seedlings that were still on that plate and then put them in here, and there's a surge of growth. So these seedlings were put in here, put in this container about 6 weeks ago. And there's just been an incredible surge of growth in these seedlings, and I'm really happy with that. So I've got now a few more flasks of Cattleya pumila, which, by the way, is from the same pod, the same capsule that I showed a bloom to you a few weeks ago. So these are pretty old because some of the siblings of these plants have bloomed already. So that's pretty exciting. This is a much newer cross, and this is a cross that has Odum's Grandolite in it, which I'm really excited about, and I told you I used in my crosses. These plants were flasked from seed about 9 months ago, and they're starting to get good growth. You know, these guys do well for a while, and they, but the medium that I have here has been optimized and developed for the Cattleyas, and these tend to do well. Both of these are Odum Grandolite crosses. They've been in flask for about 9 months, like I said, and they've been in these flasks for about 3 months. So what I want you to see from this is how nicely the roots are growing in these containers. So I can't let them sit in there too long when there's that much root growth. So I'm pretty excited about this. And these are going to be some of the first plants from Odum's Grandolite that I'm taking out of flasks. But these are ready. The plants are a little bit smaller than I would like, so they might be ready in maybe a month or something. All right, so that's actually what all these are the Odum Grandolite cross. These are, here's some other orchids, some other Cattleyas that have been in flask only for 6 months. So I planted these seeds 6 months ago, and there's just incredible growth here. And this is another one of my favorites. Was a parents in here. So this is the Momolani Rainbow was one of the parents of these. But what you can see is just really nice root growth on these plants and these flasks. There isn't as much root growth on the bottom as we had with that previous one, but these haven't been in there for as long. So I'm going to wait at least probably another 2 or 3 months for these plants to grow a little bit more. You should be able to see pretty solid roots on the bottom of the medium here, so they've got a little ways to go yet. But otherwise, I'm pretty excited. Lots of things going on here, and I am just I'm happy with how things are progressing. All right, so that's all I have for today. I wanted to give you an update of the mounting on the cedar boards, both freshly deflasked and recently deflasked plants, and also wanted to give you an update of some of the plants that I haven't flasked and how rapidly these guys are growing. Okay, so that's all I have for today. If you like what you saw today and you want to keep on seeing my videos, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching and happy propagating.